I mean, I don't know if books can be a love language, but it might be mine. Well, welcome to Simple Changes with Lana. If we haven't met before, I'm Lana. I am married to Steve for the past 10 years, and we have 3 beautiful children, ages almost 3, 8, and almost 11. Okay, so if you are a book lover like me, this is going to probably be a difficult process for you. So the easiest way that I have found to go through your books is to literally take them all off of your shelves and put them all in a pile together. I used my dining room table because I didn't want to sit on the floor. It's sad but true, bookshelves are often where good intentions to read go to die. But really what proves that you love reading is not having all the books, it's actually reading them. And I guarantee you, if you pare down to those that are really highlighted in your heart in this season of your life, if you focus on those, and you are so much more likely to actually grab a book and read it. So if you've been following my process with other decluttering projects, you'll notice that I do really appreciate KonMari methods. But taking an entire category out and putting them all together is about as far as I take it. I didn't wake my books up. I didn't pat them all. I didn't kneel down and thank my home before I started. I don't thank inanimate objects. I'm a believer in Jesus Christ. So if I were to thank anybody, it's going to be Him because He is the source of any blessing within my life. But I think that we can all agree that gratefulness is very powerful in this process, and often it can help us let go of things that we would otherwise feel guilt about keeping. So my heart is to tell you what my process was with this, and this is just what ended up working out for me. Round 1 is all about picking up each book individually, and we're looking for quick, easy decisions. We are looking for the books that we know just don't really hold any intense value or interest to us at all. Those we are going to be putting directly into a donation box or bin. The ones that we are conflicted about, not sure, can't really make a decision right now, or no, we definitely aren't going to get rid of it, those we're going to be sorting into categories as we set them down. The reason why I'm saying to sort them into categories, the ones that you're keeping, is because you're going to be impressed with what kind of categories do I actually often end up purchasing and how many in each category do I have. It's good for you to visually see how many in each of these categories do I have, and do I really need that many in that category? We're going to be going through our yes and maybe piles, category by category again, and we're going to be searching for books that we are going to commit to actually reading from cover to cover within the next year. I'm going to encourage you to try to read 1 to 2 books at least per month, and that's usually what I average, I feel, just reading maybe a couple chapters a night. So what we're going to say, because I like the number 25 more than 24 because I have a touch of OCD, I'm going to say we're going to find 25 books out of all those books that you said were maybes or for sure yeses, and you're going to make a pile of 25 books that you're going to commit to reading within the next year. And you're going to want to think of a place in your home where these books can be on display. Where I spend the most time reading is actually in bed before I go to sleep. It's what helps me kind of wind down. So I decided I'm going to line them up with bookends on my bedroom dresser. So I see them every day, and it is going to encourage me to get after those books this year. While you're making this special pile, 25 high, of books that you want to try and commit to reading this year, you can also be making a side pile, your personal classics or just your forever favorites, and you just really treasure them. And maybe those are the books that kind of spark joy. So what I ended up with actually was 3 piles of books. after I went through step 1 and step 2. Because what I ended up with was my pile of my top 25, I'm going to read them within a year books, my forever favorite classics, and then everything else. So those were kind of like maybes, or like maybe next year's reading list. I'm not sure what you want to call it, but I had a third pile. And it wasn't a pile where I could just take the whole thing and put it in to the bin to donate. But you really have no, it's not an item that you treasure or, sparks joy for you or makes you happy, nor is it a book that made it into your, 25 that you're going to read. That's when you need to kind of stop and look at these items and say, am I just keeping this out of guilt? I had quite a few of these, actually. I didn't think that I would. And it's not worth it. For those of you who haven't seen my video that I did recently about going through my children's books, actually I had my kids help me go through this process. I wanted to give you a quick update on that. They did so well with this. Even my 2-year-old helped out, and he did a great job too. But I wanted to tell you, just to reassure you, there is no feelings of lack with how many books they now have. I've heard 0 complaints. I've heard 0 regrets of books that have gone. And they probably still have way more books than they technically need, especially with the access that we have to libraries. But I wanted to tell you, now that we've gone through and touched all those books and we've really pared down to those really special ones that really make them excited or giggle or learn, I just need to tell you, they've been bringing books to me to read to them so much more often, and they've been just grabbing books and opening them and looking at pictures and reading them to themselves way more often. And that really has touched my heart as a mama who loves books and really desires to pass on this passion for books and for reading and learning, to see my kids having this newfound interest in their books. And it's the same way for grown-ups. It was harder for me than it was for them to go through books. In both instances, it was harder for me to see them let go of children's books because I attach sometimes sentimental memories with items, but I had a hard time going through my books. I honestly am really proud of myself for being able to pare down to the level that I did. I still did keep a lot more than I thought I was going to end up with. But what I'm seeing as I'm looking at them all and scanning with my eyes, what I'm left with is that they're all things that I would love to open up and read someday soon. They're all special to me. And this might be a process. Sometimes we go through a cupboard or a certain category and we make a lot of progress. And then as we get better and just more comfortable with our ability to make decisions and decide yes or no, stay or go, we can go back to those places that we struggled with and realize, wow, these decisions are super easy now. That's crazy to me. I have done this with toys, I've done this with clothes, I've done this with papers, with sentimental items like photos and artwork, in areas all over my home. I've gone through it and felt like I made some progress, and then waited maybe even a couple months and went through it again, maybe even a year later, and went through it again and realized, wow, I can get rid of most of this stuff because it doesn't have that same hold on me. Sometimes we just need a little bit more time, and that's okay. I'm not a pushy, decluttering minimalist person. I understand the struggle. The struggle is real. We have in the United States more things than any other generation, but we also have, it's so interesting, we also have such an attachment to our things. It is a process to let this stuff go. It probably has taken you years to accumulate the amount of stuff that you have. It might take weeks, months, or even years to let go of this stuff, to reframe your mindset, your perspective on what's truly important, and realize I don't need this level or this amount of things to be my best self. I usually will open the back cover and I will write the words, finished, and then I will put the month and the year, sometimes the full date, but at least that. So that way in the back of my mind, if I do this again, 6 months, in a year, or whatever, I can see right here with my underlining and with that note in the back that I've read this book already. And that can help you become even more objective about whether this is something that you feel the need to read again, or if it's something that you're going to go back to for a reference for something, or if it has served its purpose and it's time for it to go. Now, I want to give you one more important tip that has helped me really push through and seek to finish up books, and that is the art of bullet journaling. For me, it's a little bit more practical, and I started doing this probably last year around January, and I noticed that the one thing in my bullet journal that I still always do, I love tracking how far I am in each book that I'm currently reading. And you would be amazed how that visual reminder of how far you've already gone, it's amazing how it encourages you to keep going with the books that you're reading and to actually finish them up. And these are books that I have actually completely finished in the past month or two. And this is not my norm. Maybe at one point it was, but with 3 kids and several part-time jobs and trying to keep up with our home, honey, it ain't happening. And the amazing thing is now it is happening. It's like I'm busier than ever, but because I've become intentional about this, I'm actually finishing books. So basically all a bullet journal is a notebook essentially, and you're gonna find either little boxes or they'll just be little dots here. And basically it just makes it easier or fun to draw graphs or pictures or to-do lists or whatever the case may be. So for our purposes, I'm utilizing this to track how far I get in a book. So I've already finished this book earlier this year. And so what I would do is I would see the title, and then I would add the author's name just for fun. And I highly recommend this book. It is by Lisa Turkhurst. And then what you're going to do is you're going to open up the book and you're going to figure out how many chapters are actually in the book. And usually it'll actually say chapter 1, 2, 3. Sometimes it's just split into sections, and then you're going to have to just count them out and figure out how many you're going to need. So for every chapter, I'm going to make a box. And I'm going to put a 1 for chapter 1, a 2 for chapter 2, a 3 for chapter 3, and so on and so forth. Now that you have all of your chapters written out, you are going to fill in a box every time you complete a chapter. So I finished the intro or chapter 1. You're going to just go ahead and color that in. You're going to keep reading. You finished chapter 2. Go you. You're going to fill that in, and you're going to keep going, and you're going to fill these in as you complete chapters. And the funnest part is when you get toward the end. That's when it gets really exciting. You start noticing, wow, look how far I have gotten. It would be really easy to just finish this book up real quick. And this tip alone, I feel, has helped me to finish up books that maybe I otherwise would have forgotten about, because I look at it and I realize I'm so close. Hey, I might as well just finish this book up and call it a day. You don't need a bullet journal to do this, obviously. It's just fun to connect the dots and the lines for my little brain. I hope that you guys and your families are blessed, you're staying warm, and we'll see you next time.
Good job.
I swear, Big Mama Daisy.
Where's Big Mama Daisy?
I'm just sitting here.
I saw you on
I got time. It's clear to see from up here. The world seems small.